On the spring train ride home, my husband, Adam, asked me, 7 months pregnant, to give up my seat to his secretary, Lily White. Without a word of complaint, I obediently stood up, offered her the seat, and even massaged her shoulders. Why? Because in my previous life, I had refused to give Lily my seat while 7 months pregnant, forcing her to stand for over 10 hours. I made it home safely for the new year. But Lily, overwhelmed and distressed, had been harassed by a lunatic on the train and ended her life in despair. Adam hadn't cared back then. Secretaries are everywhere, he'd said coldly before buying out every baby supply store in town to make me the envy of all. But after we returned from our New Year's trip, he did the unthinkable, cutting open my belly himself. Desperately, I tried to hold on to my baby, but he kicked me aside, draining the last bit of strength from my body. Through my fading consciousness, I questioned him, and his face, twisted and shadowed by dim light, was that of a demon. For a seat, you just had to fight with Lily, didn't you? He sneered. You're pregnant, not fragile. Do you even realize how important a girl's chastity is? She died because of you. This child isn't even mine. Go apologize to Lily with your life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at that very moment, about to board the train. A rough shove jolted me forward. What's with the attitude? Snapped Adam, his face twisted in anger. Carrying a few bags and you're already acting like I'm abusing you? I stumbled under the weight of the heavy bags I was carrying, 2 bulging with New Year's supplies and 1 packed with Lily's makeup and skincare products. Compared to their sleek appearances, Adam in a crisp suit and Lily in a fitted skirt and towering heels, I looked more like their overworked servant. As I gasped for breath, a kind-hearted bystander reached out to help. I smiled at him gratefully, but Adam snatched the bags back with a glare. What are you doing? Sticking to any random guy? Are you that desperate? He spat. Sarah, you never fail to surprise me. Pregnant and still flirting with other men? Have some decency. The onlookers, who had initially sympathized with me, now backed away awkwardly, leaving me surrounded by empty space. Fury coursed through me, and my baby seemed to sense my emotions, kicking violently in my belly. Pain shot through me, forcing me to hunch over. The bag slipped from my grip and crashed to the ground. Adam, ignoring my pale face, glared at me with even more disdain. What the hell is your problem? These are from my mom. If you don't want to carry them, don't bother coming home for the new year. Lily patted his back soothingly. Don't be upset, Adam. Sarah's just pregnant. It's normal for her to feel unwell and be a little moody. Adam laughed coldly. Who's ever seen a pregnant woman as dramatic as her? The train announcement interrupted their tirade. The crowd surged forward, sweeping me along. I watched Adam carefully shield Lily, ensuring no one so much as brushed against her, while I was left to fend for myself. For a brief moment, I thought about staying behind, but my mother was waiting for me at home. As long as I made it back, this nightmare would end. When we boarded, Adam and Lily went to the wrong section, so I had already taken a seat by the time they arrived. Adam's face froze when he saw me sitting comfortably. Striding over, he kicked the side of the seat in frustration. Can't you see Lily's ankles are swollen? Get up and let her sit. The irony wasn't lost on me. Lily had specifically purchased herself a standing ticket. I was completely drained of strength. Waves of sharp pain surged through my body, drenching me in cold sweat. Even the slightest movement felt like a deadly challenge. Adam glanced at me, his eyes scanning me from head to toe with disdain, before letting out a mocking laugh. Look at you. You're pregnant, not disabled. Do you see how much weight you've put on? Some exercise will do you good. I'm the father of this child. Do you think I'd let anything happen to him? A middle-aged man nearby chimed in, supporting Adam's words. Young lady, your man is your rock. When you're out and about, you should listen to him. If my wife were as stubborn as you, I'd make sure she fell in line. A chill ran down my spine as I suddenly recalled the look of pure malice on Adam's face in my previous life. Just before my death, my back was soaked in cold sweat, and I had no choice but to force myself to stand up slowly. I watched as Lily gracefully took the seat with a delicate smile. Even this simple action left me feeling weak and dizzy. My vision swam, and I stumbled, accidentally falling against Lily. Before I could steady myself, Adam's angry voice rang out, and he shoved me aside. Are you blind? Can't even walk properly? What are you? Useless or something? I landed hard against another passenger behind me, sharp pain radiating through my body, rendering me speechless. Voices of complaint erupted around me. What's her problem? Everyone else is standing just fine. Why is she the only one causing trouble? Don't act special just because you're pregnant. Women like her shouldn't even go out. Just lock her up at home. I forced myself upright, apologizing repeatedly to those around me. From beginning to end, Adam never once acknowledged my humiliation. Instead, he was busy comforting Lily, who was playing the victim as always. Ever since Lily fabricated baseless photos and tricked me into meeting a strange man, Adam had refused to believe that the child I was carrying was his. I clung to the railing with one hand, while the other braced against my belly, trying to steady myself. Sis, your face is so pale. Are you okay? Lily asked with feigned concern, her body leaning closer to Adam. From a distance, they looked like a couple madly in love. Adam peeled an orange for her with a smirk, dismissing her fake worry. She's fine. There's nothing wrong with her. I glanced at my reflection in the train window. My hair was plastered to my forehead with sweat, my lips pale and drained of color. The relentless waves of pain dragged me into despair. Below my reflection, I saw Adam and Lily. Adam, my husband of several years, and Lily, his childhood sweetheart turned secretary. Lily had returned from studying abroad just a few months ago, and the moment she came back, she latched onto Adam under the pretense of catching up. By the time I discovered their closeness, she had already become his personal secretary. They were inseparable, their outfits often coordinated like a couple's. When I confronted Adam, he brushed it off, calling me paranoid. She's just an old friend, he said. I'm just helping her out by giving her a job. That's all. But as my pregnancy progressed and I had less energy to keep tabs on them, they became more blatant, openly going everywhere together. The train arrived at another station, and more passengers boarded, bustling with the excitement of returning home for the holidays. Their joy only amplified how out of place I felt. A sudden shove from behind sent me sprawling again. This time, I couldn't even hold on to the railing. A passenger dragging a suitcase muttered angrily as they passed by. Watch where you're going. Don't you have any manners? Young lady, walking around with a belly that big and purposely blocking the way. What's your problem? Or is it that you don't even know who the father of your child is? How could the child's dad let you stand like this? Unless, are you the other woman? My fingers tightened around the railing, turning white from the pressure. Humiliation washed over me, and I wished I could disappear into the floor. I glanced up to see Adam acting like he hadn't heard a thing, his ears seemingly stuffed with cotton. Beside him, Lily laughed softly, her voice light and sweet. Suddenly, I felt something unusual behind me. Someone was tugging at my clothing through the fabric. In my past life, Lily had encountered a predator on the train. Could this be happening to me now? I shifted my bag to shield my back, putting some distance between myself and the crowd. Adam noticed my small movement and let out an unrestrained laugh. Really, Sarah? Do you think so highly of yourself? Look at you. Your figure's completely ruined. You're so swollen. You look like a pig ready for slaughter at Chinese New Year. Honestly, I'm worried that when I take you home, they'll mistake you for the pig instead. And yet, you're afraid someone might find you attractive. My face turned ashen. Even though I knew Adam had changed long ago, I hadn't expected his cruelty to be this unrelenting. The people around us all turned to look at me, their gazes scrutinizing and mocking. The middle-aged man from earlier smirked and added, "Ah, young man, you don't understand. Some guys are into married women. You know." He exchanged a knowing glance with Adam, and I felt a chill run through me. How could I have ever loved such a vile man? When I got home, the first thing I would do was take back control of the company and kick him out of my life. Adam's eyes roved over me with an indescribable expression, and I couldn't suppress my anger any longer. I swung my bag and slammed it into his chest. Then, I tried to move toward the front of the car to distance myself from him and Lily. But the surge of passengers boarding the train left me trapped and unable to move. A moment later, a conductor approached. calling out for ticket inspections. Please present your ID. I struggled to free a hand and searched my pocket, only to remember that my ID was in my bag, the one now in Lily's hands. Lily, could you pass me my ID? I asked. Lily looked at me with an apologetic smile but made no move to help. Oh, sis, it's not that I don't want to help, but with what you've done, how can I possibly explain it for you? I froze, confused by her cryptic words. Adam leaned back lazily in his seat, smirking. You see all kinds of people these days. Imagine trying to ride the train without a ticket. A pregnant woman, of all things, using her condition to scam her way on board. How shameless. His voice was loud enough to draw attention, and curious stares zeroed in on me. A pregnant woman trying to sneak into the business class section. Someone muttered. Sure, tickets are hard to get during the holidays, but this is just ridiculous. Poor kid. Having a mom like that. What a waste. Another added. Isn't it common for people to use kids to scam inheritances these days? She's probably one of them. Someone chimed in mockingly. Their words felt like knives cutting into me, and I couldn't hold back anymore. I reached out and grabbed Adam's arm. The ticket was bought together with yours. What game are you playing here? The conductor frowned and looked at Adam. Sir, if you have information about her ticket, please share it. Otherwise, we need her to provide her ID as soon as possible so we can continue our work. Adam closed his eyes, pretending to nap, ignoring both me and the conductor. I had no choice but to turn to Lily again. Lily, give me my bag. Feigning innocence, Lily began rummaging through the bag slowly, making a show of searching. Oh dear, I can't seem to find it, she said. Just as the conductor prepared to escalate the situation, Lily deliberately dropped the bag onto the floor with a sly smirk. Oh no, I'm so sorry, sis, she said sweetly, her voice dripping with mock concern. I have so much stuff in my hands. It just slipped. Do you mind picking it up yourself? Her eyes glinted with provocation as she stood back, watching me struggle. Pick it up yourself, Lily said with a smug smile. I glanced at the conductor, who was busy checking tickets on the other side of the car. Left with no choice, I bent down as much as I could to reach for my ID. The weight of my belly pressed down heavily, making every movement excruciating. Each inch I bent forward intensified the pain, and sweat drenched my forehead. Just as I was about to grab the ID, Lily stretched lazily and subtly kicked it further out of reach. The nosy onlookers around me waited with anticipation, clearly more entertained by my struggle than concerned. Even though the ID was within my line of sight, the humiliation of being in this position while my husband sat just steps away crushed me with despair. In the end, it was the conductor who retrieved the ID for me. With great effort, I managed to stand upright again, my body trembling from the strain. Adam's eyes were filled with mockery as he said, This is what happens when you give me attitude. Don't forget, you're unemployed right now. I'm the one taking care of you. You'd better remember your place because without me, you're nothing. I wanted to laugh. The same man who promised to take care of me, when he wanted me to have his child, now used it as a weapon against me. Adam conveniently forgot that everyone called him Mr. Song, only because I handed the company over to him while I was pregnant. Unable to hold it in any longer, I looked him straight in the eyes and said, Let's get a divorce. Adam. He stared at me as if I just told the funniest joke in the world. He laughed so hard he was gasping for air. Divorce? Are you kidding me? You can't even pick up an ID without help. What could you possibly accomplish without me? And don't forget, you're carrying my child. There's no way I'd let you take the baby. Then, as if struck by inspiration, his voice turned sharp, and he raised it for the entire car to hear. Unless, of course, the baby isn't mine. The words hit like a bomb, sending ripples of shock and gossip through the car. Suddenly, the tired passengers perked up, their curiosity fully piqued. Their stares bore into me, scrutinizing me from head to toe, as if judging me guilty of some unspeakable sin. No wonder her husband's been so cold to her, someone muttered. She's probably been messing around behind his back. She even looks like one of those sneaky types. Another person chimed in. Men always fall for women like that. Cheap and sly. Married, but still can't keep her act together. In the old days, Women like her would have been drowned in a pig cage. Someone sneered. Modern times have really gone downhill. The barrage of judgment was relentless, slicing into me like sharp knives. I knew they didn't care about the truth. They were simply killing time with a new scandal, but the comments still left me gasping for air. My baby kicked violently in my belly, and I bit my lip hard, trying to endure the pain. Lily suddenly gasped as if she'd remembered something, her expression one of hesitant concern. "Sis, was the man I saw you with late at night the father of your baby?" Her words sent a fresh wave of shock through the car. I lunged forward, grabbing her by the shoulders despite my weakening body. "What are you talking about? What man?" I had barely any strength left. Yet Lily's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Adam, pitiful and trembling. "I'm only saying this for her own good. There are so many people here. It's best not to air family issues in public." Adam, visibly enraged, stood up and shoved me aside with a harsh sneer. "Get lost. Stop making a scene here. Lily's just trying to help you, and you don't even appreciate it." The crowd parted around me like I was a plague. I hit the ground hard, and a sticky, wet sensation spread beneath me. Panic shot through me as I scrambled to grab onto something for support, but the passengers pushed me away in disgust. I don't know how many times I tried before I finally managed to stand, my body shaking uncontrollably. The warm, wet feeling continued to spread, leaving me terrified. Something was very, very wrong. I felt like a clown in this train car, entertaining the workers around me. A single tear hung at the corner of my eye. Adam's lips twitched as if he wanted to say something but ultimately stayed silent. Slowly, I turned and shuffled toward the connection area between cars, leaning against the wall to wait. Just a few more hours, and I would be home. But as time ticked by, a chilling sensation crept up my back. Something, or someone, was behind me. A tugging sensation confirmed it. I turned and locked eyes with the man who had earlier joked with Adam about married women. His name tag read Howard Grant. He had positioned his backpack to block us off from the rest of the passengers. In that moment, I had never felt so disgusted by physical proximity to another human being. I wanted to scream, but he clamped a hand over my mouth. Around us, passengers were either engrossed in their phones or dozing off. Howard's sticky gaze lingered on me, and the warmth of his palm felt suffocating, making me want to retch. I tried to appear composed and said through gritted teeth, "My husband is on this train. You're in big trouble." Howard chuckled darkly, his hand creeping toward my clothing. "Don't joke. I've been observing. Your husband looks like he'd love to get rid of you." He wasn't wrong. In my past life, Adam had shown deep regret for what happened to Lily. Would he even try to save me now? The conductor passed by us, but I couldn't call out, as Howard had a firm grip on both my hands and mouth. Desperation filled me, and my body stiffened as if struck by electricity. Just then, Adam appeared, holding a water bottle. His gaze met mine at that exact moment. "What are you doing?" Adam asked, striding toward us. For an instant, a flicker of hope bloomed inside me. The gentle Adam I once loved and the heartless man who had driven me to my death seemed to merge in this moment. I couldn't tell which side of him would prevail. Howard smirked, as if gambling on Adam's response. Adam's expression, however, darkened with disdain. "Seriously, dude? A pregnant woman? Even you're into that?" He then turned to me, his tone dripping with contempt. "Wow, Sarah, you've really outdone yourself. Flirting on the way home. Are you that lonely? Once this baby is born, my mom will take care of it. You won't have any say in raising the child." I didn't even have time to argue. Taking advantage of Howard's distraction, I stomped hard on his foot. He yelped in pain, and I quickly moved to stand behind the conductor, my legs trembling uncontrollably. "He harassed me," I said, my voice shaking. Howard immediately switched to an innocent, mild-mannered demeanor, clearly experienced in situations like this. "Ma'am, you can't make baseless accusations like that. I was just standing a little too close. That's all. Hey, man," he added, looking at Adam. "You saw it too, right? Help me out here." Instead of defending me, Adam frowned and said, "It's no big deal. There are so many people on the train. It's normal to accidentally bump into someone." In that moment, I realized how completely rotten Adam was. from head to toe. The conductor, showing more patience than I expected, turned to me and asked for details. I recounted everything, but Howard tried to inch closer as I spoke. "You can't just accuse me based on your one-sided story," he protested. "I was only trying to catch you when I saw you about to fall." I handed my phone to the conductor, who reviewed the footage carefully. Thankfully, I had remembered what happened to Lily in my previous life and had turned on the recording in advance when I moved to the connection area. After a tense pause, the conductor's radio crackled, and Howard was escorted away, cursing under his breath. The conductor helped steady me and suggested I rest in the dining car. Just as I was about to leave, Adam called out, stopping me. I didn't look back. I made my way to the dining car and sat down, exhaustion weighing heavily on me. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was being gently woken by the conductor. And to my dismay, I realized I had missed my stop. By the time I returned to check, Adam and Lily were already gone. I asked the conductor for assistance in arranging a return trip. After much trouble, I finally disembarked and found Adam's messages flooding my phone. "You're unbelievable. How do you even manage to miss your stop on a train? Just wait there. I'm taking Lily home first and will pick you up later." Without hesitation, I deleted his messages and hailed a cab home. On the way, I contacted my assistant, Liam. "Prepare the documents to revoke all authorizations. From now on, I'll handle the company myself." "Sarah, are you sure? Are you feeling okay?" Liam sounded concerned. Calmly, I confirmed my instructions. Once the documents arrived in my email, I signed them decisively and immediately finalized the divorce agreement, sending it directly to Adam. At the same time, I reached out to the high-speed rail station to ensure that Howard Grant would face proper penalties for his actions. People like him couldn't be left unchecked. They would only harm more victims. It didn't take long for Adam's angry messages to pour in. "Are you crazy? Divorce now? Right before the new year? What will people think? You've been out of the loop for so long. Do you really think you can keep up with running the company again? Didn't I just take Lily home for a bit to rest after such a long ride? Are you dying or something? You couldn't even wait for me." I couldn't help but laugh coldly. Adam had gotten far too comfortable with the power I had given him. He seemed to genuinely believe he was irreplaceable. This company was something I built with my own hands. After we got married, Adam had suggested working there for the sake of convenience, and I allowed it. Later, when I became pregnant, he began encouraging me to rest at home, subtly hinting that he'd grown familiar with the business and could manage it on his own. I knew why he felt so emboldened now. It was because of my pregnancy. He thought I was trapped, unable to act because of my condition. Thankfully, I had been cautious from the start. I never gave up my final decision-making authority. I ignored Adam's messages. Instead, I responded in another way, by ensuring he'd soon receive news that all the projects he was managing had been pulled. When I arrived home, my mom was sitting on the couch watching the Spring Festival gala preview. She looked surprised to see me. "Aren't you supposed to be at Adam's family's house tonight?" I told her everything. My mom was furious. "Divorce him. I'll take care of the baby for you," she said, immediately calling my dad, who was out playing mahjong, to come home. When my dad arrived, he slammed the table in anger. "That's it. No more support for Adam's family." Adam's family business had been struggling financially, and my dad had been investing to keep it afloat. Now, with my dad pulling out, Adam would find himself in a dire situation. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in ages. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed and helped my mom prepare dumplings for the New Year's Eve dinner. The phone rang, and I answered absent-mindedly, only to hear my mother-in-law's voice on the other end. She sounded cheerful, unaware of the impending storm. "Sweetheart, why didn't you and Adam come home for the new year this time?" My dad was fuming, ready to lash out, but I quickly stopped him. My mother-in-law had always treated me well, and I didn't want to take my anger out on her. Calmly, I explained, "Mom, Adam and I are getting a divorce." Her voice shot up several octaves, filled with shock and disbelief. "What? Divorce? How could this happen?" Before she could say anything more, I heard Adam's voice in the background. He grabbed the phone and barked, "You're really going through with this? Huh, don't think I'll agree to it. You can forget about it. I'm telling you, the baby is mine. I'm the father. Adam shouted. His mother, clearly exasperated, slapped him hard across the face, silencing him. After I calmly explained everything to her, I hung up the phone. I refused to let someone like Adam ruin my mood during the New Year celebrations. The Spring Festival Gala had just begun, and the lively atmosphere filled the house. Suddenly, loud knocking came from the door. When I opened it, I saw my mother-in-law standing there, dragging Adam by the ear. Her face was full of apologies. As soon as Adam saw me, his face twisted into a look of disdain. Before he could say anything, his mother kicked him sharply behind the knees and barked, "Apologize right now. How did I end up with such a shameless son? Don't you know how much the Shun family has done for us over the years?" Adam stubbornly held his ground, his neck stiff. What did I do wrong? I just took Lily home. She's the one who can't tolerate others. My dad grabbed a broom in fury, ready to strike him, but I stopped him. Instead, I stepped forward and slapped Adam hard across the face, so hard his head turned to the side. He glared at me, clearly unrepentant, until I played the second half of the video I had saved. It captured his dismissive remarks to me on the train, telling me not to bother with Howard Grant, calling my child illegitimate, accusing me of being desperate for attention. As the audio played, my mother-in-law's face turned pale. She took the broom from my dad, trembling with rage, and swung it at Adam. "You shameless disgrace. Don't ever call me mom again." Adam's expression finally changed as he seemed to recall everything that had happened on the train. He didn't dare say another word. In the end, my mother-in-law came into my house, leaving Adam outside on his knees, unable to bear the neighbors' judgmental stares and whispers. Adam eventually fled in shame. Before leaving, my mother-in-law removed her jade bracelet and slipped it into my hand, along with 2 thick red envelopes for me and the baby. "Sarah, I'm so sorry for everything he's put you through. I'll make sure he signs the divorce papers when I get back. But please, let me visit the baby from time to time," she pleaded, her sincerity evident in her eyes. I couldn't bring myself to refuse her, so I nodded. The next day, I woke up feeling refreshed. I helped my mom prepare dumplings for New Year's Eve dinner when a news alert popped up on my phone. It was a report about a new product launch by Yunshan Pharmaceuticals. The headline read, "Yunshan CEO attends with his wife, a perfectly matched couple." The attached photo showed Lily dressed in a champagne-colored couture gown, my design for the company's gala. Next to her, Adam stood in a tailored suit, his smug expression making me grit my teeth. I immediately called my assistant. "Why is Adam attending our event?" "Sarah, I was just about to tell you," my assistant said nervously. "The PR team said it was too late to cancel his appearance." I stared at the image of Lily wearing the gown I had planned for myself and felt an overwhelming urge to rip it off her and throw it away. Without hesitation, I forwarded the evidence I had stored in my email directly to Adam. I had long suspected something was off about Lily's sudden return. Why had she chosen to come back right when Adam took over the company? Before that, they had little to no contact. Her timing was too precise to be a coincidence. It wasn't long before she began working for Adam as his personal secretary. The projects I had specifically instructed Adam to secure always ended up being taken by foreign competitors. Even our new pharmaceutical products were beaten to market. Despite her attempts to cover her tracks, I discovered Lily's previous employment history. She was a corporate spy sent by one of our competitors. When she realized I was investigating her, she doubled down, becoming even more manipulative toward Adam. Lily frequently played on Adam's guilt, dropping suggestive comments like, "I thought you were waiting for me. If only you hadn't gotten married. We could have." Her ambiguous remarks deepened Adam's misplaced guilt and made him even more vulnerable to her schemes. Using Adam's lack of defenses, Lily had been stealing company secrets all along. I had every reason to believe that in my previous life, Lily had faked her death, only to return under a new identity after fleeing abroad. Her method was a clever escape, leaving me and my unborn child to suffer tragic, undeserved deaths. A sharp ringtone interrupted my thoughts. It was Adam, furious as usual. "I've told you 100 times. There's nothing inappropriate between Lily and me. She hadn't been back in the country for years. And I was just helping her get back on her feet by arranging a job. How can you be so suspicious? And now you're using fake evidence to smear her just to get a divorce? You'll stop at nothing, won't you? Fine. I'll grant you your wish. The warm sunlight streaming through the window felt comforting as I calmly replied. I don't have time to waste making up fake evidence to frame her. If you're so smart, why don't you investigate it yourself? Adam was so angry he hung up with a loud clap. Not long after, I received the divorce agreement. Around the same time, the high-speed rail station informed me that Howard Grant had been dealt with. Many women he had previously harassed had come forward to testify against him, and his face was plastered all over the internet. He quickly became a pariah, losing his job and facing lawsuits from influential female entrepreneurs who refused to let him off the hook. I couldn't help but think back to my previous life. After Lily's supposed accident, when Adam played the role of a grieving husband, the company suffered severe financial issues. A major liquidity crisis forced my dad to invest a substantial amount of money to keep things afloat. But now that I knew what was coming, there was no way I'd let history repeat itself. I picked up my phone and called Liam. Cancel the new heart disease medication project that Adam is overseeing. Liam was taken aback. But Ms. Shun, that project is in its final stages of development. I didn't bother explaining too much. Liam, the cost of canceling now is nothing compared to the potential disaster if that data is stolen. Or worse, if clinical trials lead to fatalities, human lives come first. It's better to cut our losses early. What's more, Adam, as the company's head, had failed to notice the suspicious activities right under his nose. He even allowed a corporate spy to operate freely. I couldn't rule out the possibility that he knew more than he let on. I assembled a special investigative team to ensure that no loose ends were left untied. In the days that followed, I fully embraced spending time with my family. I played mahjong, indulged in delicious food, soaked up the sunshine, and enjoyed the lively New Year visits from relatives. The house was bustling with joy and activity. Then, on the fourth day of the new year, I received a message from Lily. It had been days since I last saw Adam or heard anything from him. Even his usual barrage of angry texts had stopped. Normally, with the investigation team I had set up, he would have called to yell at me by now. Lily's message included my home address and a copy of my prenatal health report. The implicit threat was clear. I smirked. It seemed she'd realized the investigation was closing in and was panicking. Without hesitation, I asked my uncle to take the compiled evidence and her warning to the police to formally open a case. My mom, sitting nearby munching on sunflower seeds, commented nonchalantly, "Daughter, it's like you're unstoppable these days. You've got your hands in everything. Oh, by the way, Adam's mom told me that Adam got kidnapped." I almost burst out laughing. My mom kept going, oblivious to my amusement. His mom paid a huge ransom to get him back. But he's in bad shape now, crippled, with one leg completely useless, causing such a mess during the new year. I wonder who he managed to offend so badly. I knew this was all because Lily's role as a pawn had been exposed, and their plans to steal the revolutionary heart disease medication were foiled when I terminated its development. Without any more opportunities to exploit me, they were desperate. I spent most of my time at home, while Adam continued to flaunt himself shamelessly in the news. Comparing our situations, it seemed clear that Adam was the easier target for their frustrations. If someone had to take the fall, it might as well be him. I didn't mind adding fuel to the fire. With a simple command, I had HR send Adam his termination email. As expected, Adam couldn't stay silent. With nowhere left to turn, his mother disowned him. I divorced him. And even his sweet and gentle white moonlight, Lily, was exposed as a gold digger. He was now entirely cornered. Losing his job would be the final blow. When he called me, his voice was low and pitiful, barely holding back tears. "Sarah, we've been together for so long. I'm still the father of your child. Can't you at least show me some mercy? Please give me a way out." I laughed coldly, my disdain unrestrained. "What are you pretending for now? The person you truly owe an apology to can no longer hear it." He tried to ask what I meant, but I had no interest in dragging it out. I hung up, placing a hand on my belly to feel my baby's lively kicks. For the first time, I felt like everything was finally coming to an end. This time, I had succeeded in protecting my child. My mom brought me a coat and said, "Come on, let's go visit your grandmother for the New Year's celebration. We'll have a nice meal together." As we got out of the car at my grandmother's house, another car pulled up nearby. Adam emerged, disheveled, his face shadowed by stubble and his bloodshot eyes filled with exhaustion. He limped toward me, his movements slow and unsteady. I gestured for my mom to go inside first and turned to face Adam with irritation. He hesitated before finally speaking. "Sarah, can we not get divorced? I'll transfer all my assets to you. I'll stay at home, take care of the baby, and support your career. Please, let's make it work." I almost laughed out loud. After his assets were wiped out to cover legal costs, what would be left to transfer? I yanked my hand away from his grasp. "What you really mean is that you want me to clean up your mess, don't you? And let's not pretend you didn't have some idea of what Lily was up to. You just didn't want to admit it. You knew that once I had the baby, I'd take back the company. So, what? You were just stalling for time." With each word, his face grew paler. I freed my hand and walked into the yard. But he shamelessly followed me all the way to the dining table. He busied himself, fussing over my grandmother, asking about her health, and offering to visit her more often in the future. The whole family watched him with visible irritation. Then my phone buzzed repeatedly with notifications. "Ms. Shun, thank you for the evidence you provided. After investigation, Ms. Lily White has been found involved in multiple counts of fraud and theft. A full-scale manhunt has been launched." Feeling satisfied, I finally started eating. The table was eerily quiet as everyone focused on their food. Adam awkwardly placed some food into my grandmother's bowl. "Grandma, I've been so busy lately that I haven't had time to visit. From now on, Sarah and I will come often." My grandmother, a no-nonsense woman, slammed her bowl down on the table. "You should leave. I'm afraid my great-grandchild won't even recognize me as their great-grandmother if you stick around." Adam's face flushed with embarrassment as he looked around for support, but no one came to his defense. Left with no choice, he slinked away, humiliated. Once he was gone, the whole family burst into laughter. We turned on the replay of the Spring Festival Gala and chatted about recent events. My grandmother even slipped me a gold bracelet in secret. I ate my fill and chatted with Grandma until late at night. Once everyone was too tired and had gone to bed, I stepped outside into the yard for some fresh air. Turning my head, I saw Adam crouched by the gate, cigarette ash scattered around his feet. Hearing my footsteps, he looked up and quickly stood, taking a step back when I approached. "Sarah, what do I have to do for you to forgive me? Can't you just tell me? Do you really want to bring this baby into the world without a father?" I stared into his eyes. "Adam, I had a dream. In that dream, you killed me and our baby with your own hands. I will never forgive you in this lifetime. If you want redemption, you'd better go to hell. That's the only way you could ever make up for what you've done." Adam froze, his face twisted with disbelief. "It was just a dream. Are you really going to treat me like a criminal over a dream?" I chuckled coldly. The pain I endured wasn't a dream. My child won't forget it either. If he knew how his father treated his mother, he wouldn't want you to be his dad. Adam swayed unsteadily, his face growing even paler than it had been at dinner when everyone ignored him. Unable to take it any longer, he stumbled away, humiliated. Life soon returned to normal. My days were spent playing mahjong with my mom, basking in the sunlight, and attending online meetings for work when necessary. Adam seemed to have disappeared from my life, yet there were traces of him everywhere. Packages from baby stores arrived frequently, filled with formula, tiny clothes for both boys and girls, and even handbags I'd mentioned liking in the past. I threw them all in the trash without hesitation. My only concern was the possibility they were tainted with his schemes. I focused on my pregnancy, prioritizing my health and my babies. One day, my secretary informed me that the head of the investigation team had an update. Adam was indeed suspected of intentionally leaking company secrets. However, when they tried to issue a summons, he was nowhere to be found. I calmly instructed, "If you can't find him, file the case and proceed." Following my orders, the team sent Adam a formal warning. Not long after, my phone rang. The moment I saw the caller ID, I had a hunch about who it was. Still, I answered, Sarah, I'm begging you. Please forgive me. I swear I'll stay far away from you and the baby. I'll move somewhere you'll never have to see me again. Isn't that enough? Please. Think about all the years we were together. Call off the investigation team. The more pitiful his tone became, the more convinced I was that he'd been stealing from me. Annoyed, I warned him, Adam, this is your final reminder. Cooperating with the investigation is your best option. And as for how we ended up like this, isn't it because you hurt me and our child for another woman? Adam's voice grew frantic, almost unhinged. Fine. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. Sarah, what more do you want from me? I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Some people never truly understand their mistakes. Adam wasn't apologizing because he felt remorse. He was apologizing because the consequences were too severe for him to bear. Losing his dignity seemed like an easier sacrifice than facing the fallout of his actions. What I didn't expect was that the police would come to my door the very next day, summoning me to the station. My uncle, frowning with concern, insisted on accompanying me. I soon learned that Adam had shifted all the blame onto Lily, claiming that she had ruined his life. Lily, however, had met a far worse fate, stabbed 18 times and killed on the spot. The police discovered that Adam had called me the day before the incident. I handed over my phone and played the recording, which clearly proved my innocence. It was only then that the authorities confirmed I had no involvement. Still, I couldn't suppress my curiosity. Hadn't Lily been in hiding recently? How had Adam managed to find her? The police explained that Adam and Lily had been using a pair of old phones to contact each other discreetly. From the call logs, they uncovered that Adam had tricked Lily, telling her he had withdrawn a large sum of money and planned to run away with her. Hearing this, I couldn't help but smirk. In the end, one was met with death, and the other with imprisonment. As I was leaving the station, I crossed paths with Adam. He was handcuffed, escorted by officers, but his wild, desperate eyes were fixed on me. She's dead now. No one will come between us anymore. Please, just forgive me this once. Okay, come back to me. Return the company to me, and we can start over. I simply shook my head. Things had escalated far beyond forgiveness. It wasn't up to me anymore. Now, it was up to the law to determine his punishment. Without another word, I called the investigation team and instructed them to compile all the evidence and send it directly to the police. Since Adam was already in custody, I left it to the professionals to handle the rest. Time passed quickly, and before I knew it, the day of my delivery arrived. At the break of dawn, my baby came into the world, holding his soft, delicate face in my arms, surrounded by my loving and nervous family. I couldn't help but smile with pure contentment. A new year, a new beginning. Happiness was right here with me.